Good morning and welcome back to the Good Morning Minute podcast. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and I'm excited to kick off season 2 with a theme that touches every single one of us: relationships. That's right, friends. Relationships are at the heart of our human experience. They shape who we are, how we grow, and how we show up in the world. Whether it's family, friends, romantic connections, or even the relationships we have with ourselves, each one carries lessons, challenges, and moments of pure joy. This season, we'll sit down with incredible guests who will share their stories, wisdom, and insights on building, nurturing, and even healing relationships. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into conversations that inspire connection and growth. Now that we've set the stage for today's conversation on relationships, I am thrilled to introduce our guest. She brings a unique perspective and a wealth of experience to the table, and I know her insights will leave you feeling inspired and equipped to navigate your own relationship with more intention and understanding. So please welcome Tiffany to the Good Morning Minute podcast. Welcome, Tiffany. I am so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So, Tiffany, let's get started. Let's get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to today's conversation about relationships.
Well, I have had a tumultuous life. It seems like drama, chaos just kind of was part of it from the moment I was born. I literally started a bar fight the day I was born, just by my birth. So you kind of had to know things were going to spiral from there. But I grew up on all these wild tales and just everything. It was a family dysfunction. And the thing is, I forgave my mom easily a long time ago because I knew she had no prior training, nothing to go on. I mean, we don't get guides, we just have to do the best we can with what we have at the time.
Mhm.
And well, I decided 4.5 years ago to move to Lubbock, and I left everything behind. And when I did that, I made an intention that I wouldn't settle, that I was going to finally live for me. And it's been a few trials, and it's been a very long learning curve to get to where I could develop a relationship with myself.
Mhm.
Because as women, we spend all our time being mothers, caregivers, and everything else, that we truly lose sight of who we are.
Mhm.
And so when you get lost and so far gone, it's hard to go back to, where did I go? And what do I like? If you've seen Julia Roberts, the movie Runaway Bride, when she's eating the eggs because she doesn't know how she likes her eggs, that's a perfect example. She let other people decide, and she didn't even know how she liked her eggs cooked.
Mhm. And that I've seen that movie, and I mean, you're so right. You tend to kind of adapt to who it is that you're relationshiping with, so much so that you don't really understand who you are or how you like your eggs. So I love that you're sharing this and this concept of relationshiping with yourself.
Mhm.
Can you share maybe a personal story or maybe even an experience that shaped how you approach your relationship with yourself?
Well, first of all, I had no clue what boundaries were growing up. I really didn't even understand a boundary till a little over a year ago. So if you don't, then you let people cross yours, and it just takes you. So as I've been healing, I have complex post-traumatic stress. I went through a lot most of my life, starting at a young age. I didn't understand how that exactly shaped me. So I took everybody else's things, what they said, and internalized it. But the thing
Mhm.
is, I was letting them define who I was and who I became versus listening and believing in myself. And so this summer, I really became intentional. I've been in therapy, and I needed to start really digging deep. I've been journaling. I learned to meditation, which I strongly recommend to everybody because
Mhm.
it helps you to center in the here and the now and the present. And I literally had to create my own healing path along the way. It's
Mm.
different for everybody, but for me, I got rid of all my crosses, everything really just getting rid of everything from the past that had said whatever to me in my head that became negative. And I
Mhm.
became my own best cheerleader. I got all these little things ordered, self motivational things, and they were everywhere all over my walls. Bright colors, bold statements. And it was just reading it, putting it in there until I could believe it inside. Because you have to change your tape, basically,
Mhm.
in your brain. If you've been believing faulty, you have to change it. So I
Mhm.
had to get rid of what other people said and realize I am strong, I am capable, and find a way to become at peace with myself. And part
Mm.
of that was forgiving myself for not doing what everybody else, might have done. But I was just doing the best I could at the time in a survival situation. So once I could forgive myself and say I wasn't defective, I wasn't broken, I wasn't any of these other things, I was just being, then I could let go. And now I can move forward and do, I know better. So I change and then I can do better because we limit ourselves with
Mhm.
what we think about. And then we don't move beyond that.
Mm. And they don't call them limiting beliefs for nothing because that is exactly what it does is it limits you in believing that you are capable or even reaching your fullest potential. I love that you're sharing this with us. Uh, so what was the pivoting point in your life where you stopped living unconsciously and started to wake up and be conscious of where you're at and these limiting beliefs? What was it in your life that made you aware?
I have been through a lot of things, but when I moved, I got involved in a relationship online. It did turn out to be after it was a 2 year old deal, it was a scammer. I could have beat myself up on that forever, and I did for a while. After
Mhm.
I worked with the people who had been impersonated, we made a documentary. It aired over in Denmark.
Mhm.
So the thing is, they saw more in me than I could see,
Mhm.
and other people could, but I still did not have that faith or belief in myself. And it's literally been about things externally, just tearing down everything. Um, I don't know if you've heard of estrangement, the practice of, a lot of young people these days, or even older, are estranging from their families and cutting off.
Mhm.
Well, I ended up being estranged from, and everyone else just kind of fell out of my life. And I was suddenly left all alone.
Mhm.
And I never knew how much I needed that until it was there. And
Mhm.
then I had to face those fears. I got really sick. I almost died. And I became desperate because most of my life I was in a place of not caring if I lived, and I have attempted suicide. There were times I just wanted to die. A lot of times I just
Mhm.
didn't care if I lived. I had a bad relationship with food because food became my soothing comfort and everything. So I didn't recognize hunger even anymore. It was just a medication. So
Mhm.
really, once everything was stripped out to just me, I had to go deeper and go back and find that person. And so a lot of it was fake it till you make it almost at first.
Mhm.
I love music. I like to dance and sing. I might not be the best singer, but it doesn't stop me. I belt it out loud. I sing to my dogs. And I just started realizing that I am what I decide to be, not what other people say. So if I
Mhm.
want to be a alluring female and then I have to believe it. And so I dance around my house, um, and whatever provocative things, and it's for me. It's not for anybody else. I am enjoying
Mhm.
myself and having the time of my life. And so I ended up not even going out on dates that, I was like, no, because I don't think I can tell right now this ain't going anywhere. So I think I'm going to save us both the time. I'm going to stay home with my dogs instead because I'm actually having more fun.
Uh-huh.
And I just decided to not waste time and energy on things that weren't for my benefit or good and prioritize
Mm.
myself, my health, my mental health, every aspect, and
Mhm.
go forward on that. And it's scary. It's very, but the thing is, I know in my past, everybody said I'm like a freight train. Once I make up my mind, you don't stop me. And I've healed
Mhm.
from serious, serious health conditions before. So it's possible. You just have to find that spark and run with it. So when my house burned down this year, I lost everything.
Mm.
And I was just devastated because I'd spent the whole time up here either working at work or working on remodeling this house. And I would have, I posted it on TikTok. Just, I was used to writing because I've been working on writing a book and I recorded things all the time anyway in my thing. So it was almost like a habit or instinct or a draw. And it went viral. And I
Mhm.
had people help me with the GoFundMe account, which gave me enough to rent and get into my new place that I'm renting. But it was because I let down my walls and reached out and asked for help, which I didn't do before. Because sometimes we have to be vulnerable because that shows our strength and it shows the realness that we have
Mhm.
instead of always posturing and that hard line, I got this, even when you don't.
No, I mean, I absolutely hear you. I hear what you're saying. Um, and coming from things that have hurt you, that may have spoken, things into your identity that aren't true and false. And we tend to believe that. And when we
Mhm.
believe that, then we start looking for that belief outside of us. And that's why we are in the relationships that we're in because of what we believe about ourselves. And I'm talking about self-worth. I'm talking about self-esteem,
Mhm.
settling for things that you're willing to be like, okay, well, this is a red flag for me, but I'm going to overlook it because, maybe I don't think I can get what I really want. And that's
Exactly.
absolutely false. It's absolutely false because you can. And what I'm hearing you say is rebuilding and reprogramming your thought process about who you are as a woman,
Mhm.
as a person, as a contributing member of society, so that you can start feeling positive about yourself, feeling proud about who you are, so that you can get the outcomes that you want in your life. And it's so true. It is so true. And I thank you so much for sharing some of your story and being vulnerable because you talk about community. And it's true. When we are
Yeah.
hardened by life, our hearts are hardened, we have our walls up. We do not want to let anyone in because we fear trusting people for whatever reason, whatever backgrounds we come from. And trusting people is hard, but when you start to let some of that walls down, you are able to build relationships. And you also extend um, parts of yourself out. And yes, it's scary because there are going to be people that do take advantage of you. I mean, you've experienced that, you shared that with us,
Mhm.
but you learn from those lessons and you learn that, okay, this is what I've got to, look out for.
Right.
How did that experience shape dating for you?
Well, a lot of, we know that a lot of times, females in particular, when they're searching for that missing piece, they give
Mm,
themselves, their bodies, their everything to other people,
mhm,
whether they're getting back or not.
mhm,
And so I just, I've attempted Facebook dating, but then I always pull back because I realize I'm not ready. I
mhm,
am not ready until I'm a whole person. If I can't offer a whole person, that I'm going to keep getting more broken because that's what you put out, you whatever you put out, you get back. So I realized I needed to work on myself
Mm-hmm.
and change me in
Mm-hmm.
order to even, think about. And so it's been a little rough. I was seeing somebody, we're the best of friends, but we tried the dating, and then I just on my birthday I realized, you know what? This is just not right. And I broke up with them. I literally cried my whole birthday. And I woke up the next day because of my son and my other issues in my life. And I woke up the next day, but I'm like, it's okay because it's a new day. And I know that I just put myself first. I did it.
So,
I took a
let,
stand.
yeah, let me ask you, Tiffany. So, I mean, you're building your self-worth, you're building your confidence. And the more and more you're working on yourself, like you mentioned being a whole person when you step out into the dating world because you want to attract a whole person. You're not wanting to
Right.
fix anybody else and you're not looking to be fixed. What does that feel like to be able to say, "Oh, you're not right for me, and I've got to let this go"? Because I know when we have history and experiences that have said otherwise to us, I mean, taking that first step to say, "Wait, this isn't what I want," and putting yourself first
Mhm.
and not settling for that relationship. What did that feel like for you? I mean, I know in the moment it hurt, it's sad because you're like, okay, I'm back to square one again or whatever. But the next day you said,
Fortunately for
yeah.
us, I told him I need a few days to just, re-change my thinking. We
Mm-hmm.
still have dinner together. He's my best friend. I'm having major surgery on my foot and ankle. My family is around or anything and got their lives.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking me to the hospital and staying at my house to help with the dogs. By not forcing that, we were able to maintain our friendship, which is far more important, and not hurt each other in ways that you might not recover from. Because that's what hurt people do. They hurt other people. And then it
Mm-hmm.
perpetuates a cycle and it just takes over. But if you can step back and thoughtfully and intentionally
Mm-hmm.
decide where you're going versus just living in a reactionary state, then you can start to make those better decisions for yourself. And then you aren't hurting other people and that hurts you. Because even when we hurt somebody else, it hurts us. We live with that guilt
Yeah.
and the pain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love that you're saying this because you're also allowing yourself space and time to continue to work on you. And in that meantime, also leave yourself open and available to someone who is right for you.
Mhm.
Without having, I like you use the word, I didn't have to push the situation. I know when things are right, in my experience and from my perspective, they fall in place. Everything just seems to flow and there's not much effort or work that you have to put into it because it's just right. So you're actually matching the puzzle piece together and you're not
Yeah.
forcing something that doesn't fit. That's a big idea and sometimes hard for us to understand. Can you maybe go into that a little bit from your perspective?
Well, I when I would go to college, I would always end up quitting because it just wasn't, I things weren't right. I know, at the time or everything. And it's been that way. Like, you get into a relationship and it's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It doesn't
Hmm.
fit. And you're going to just, mess things, no matter how hard, it won't. So that is when I was like this summer, just I started journaling throughout my healing process and meditating to find peace and stillness because I know those voices in my head are mine, but
Hmm.
they're the ones that I heard from other people. So I took it and internalized it. And it was about quieting that and driving it out. So that's why meditation was so important for me. But
Hmm.
journaling and writing helps to put it out there in a clear way. So I basically, it's like a manifesto, I guess, almost that I made for myself this summer. It's like,
Hmm.
I want to do better. I want to hit that level, but what is holding me back?
Mm.
What do they have that I need? And my grandson was here. And really, what was tantamount to me was when I
Mhm.
watched this documentary, that when I watched it the first time, all I did was tear myself apart. I was fat, I was this, my voice, I cried ugly, everything. But this
Mhm.
time when I watched it, I saw it in a whole new light. And he looked at me with this utter sense of pride.
Mm.
And it like just melted my heart, first of all, you know. But
Yeah.
and so yeah, it was deciding, you know, I just needed this direction, but I couldn't get the direction ever if I didn't know who I was because I was lost. And so I had to really like change things. I most of my life I considered myself a mistake.
Mm.
Backseat Christmas party mistake, dad was left, in and out of men. Well, when I was so sick and I was trying to find out what was wrong, it turned out COVID changed my physiology. I became allergic to a medication I was on.
Mm.
But we had done so many tests, the doctor was just stumped. And I was all the genetic stuff. It turned out I found I got two sets of on one of your, you get your 23 chromosomes, you get one allele from each parent. I got two from a parent on one instead of one of each. Now, they used to think that always ended in a miscarriage, but thanks to genetic research, they know that about 50% of the births are born and can live perfectly normal lives.
Mm.
So at that point, I'm like, well, hey, probably not a mistake because, I made it. And I have a Ehlers-Danlos. It is a genetic condition that affects your connective tissues. So the life expectancy on some of the types is not as, in their 40s. And I'm like,
Wow.
I blew past that. So I kind of kill it in the miracle department. I bumped into a tree in May and I punctured a major artery by bumping into a
Wow.
tree. And I had a quarter of my blood lost before they got me to surgery. And I had
Wow.
this huge, massive bump bruise on my back for a while. I still have Bruce hanging around just a little at the back. I named him because it's not mistakes. We're not mistakes. We don't make mistakes. We have learning experiences.
Mm.
And that's it in a journey. We're on a long journey of life, of discovering, of gaining. So when we realize you can learn from it, it's not a mistake.
Mhm.
It's just a learning curve or, bend. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's
I
changing the
love it.
perspective. That's it.
It
You're
does.
changing the perspective.
Yeah, you have to change that perspective because otherwise you're going to continue living the same life you see today, and if
Right.
that's not what you like and that's not what you want for yourself, then you really need to look at yourself and you
Mhm.
need to start healing because there's such benefits when you start becoming, and I'm going to use your words again, a whole person. Then you're no longer needing to seek affirmation from other sources, and
Yeah.
you can know within yourself the confidence is there. I know what I'm worth, I know what I want, and you go out with confidence in life. And so the relationships from there benefit from your healing and from your own self and inner work for sure. Okay, Tiffany, I'm going to ask you a more lighthearted question, but if
Okay.
you could give your younger self one piece of relationship advice, what would it be?
I'm so glad you asked this. You know what? One of the biggest things that started this writing and every intense thought this summer was a question on Facebook. 3 words you would tell your younger self.
Mm.
And I thought about it and I looked at what everybody else had to say and I thought, and I really had to go deep. And I came up with, you are enough.
Mm.
You always were. You are enough. You
Mhm.
don't have to be anything else. You don't have to be, you're enough just as you are.
Wow. And that's something that young ladies need to hear, because we do. have social media telling us who we need to be. We have these ideas from society of who we need to be and, what we need to become and how it needs to look and whatnot. But it's true. You are enough. And if
And
you're
in
if you're out
necessity,
there listening, you are
you
enough
are.
because
I don't know. My hair, you see my hair. Nobody on, they won't. But when I dyed it was right after Roe versus Wade.
Hmm.
And I was so angry at the moment, but I did it. And when I looked in the mirror, I had this aha moment of like, hallelujah, lights on. Like I should have always been this way, but it was like a strengthening and power. And so now little girls will see that, ooh, and I'm like, you know what? That's for girl power because you can do anything that you want. And I think, not at the time, women were still so hard fighting for the equal seat at the table in the 70s. And
Mhm.
so they hadn't been equal people for a while. And growing up in that time, seeing women conquer those, become lawyers, move into places of power that they haven't,
Mhm.
is really important because gaining that equality put us not as secondary citizens. So that was what shaped my youth. But everything else did too. It all defines, what how you see things. It's like
Mhm.
the example of 10 people see a car wreck, you get 10 different recollections. And it's
Mhm.
because everybody is shaped by the things that happen to them up until that point and helps to define. So it's, they're all 10 people are right. There's nobody wrong. And that's how we have to look at our memories, even. I enjoy reading, I enjoy researching and learning. And one of the things is they say that up to 40% of our memories are inaccurate.
Mhm.
So maybe I wasn't right the way I remember it, but that's okay. It is the way
Mhm.
it did shape me. So it's really just about truly learning to be okay with yourself, your faults, your flaws, accept them, and then love all of it because it's
Mhm.
you, it's what you've got. And when you do that, you find peace and comfort and joy within yourself. And you don't need to reach out to be validated by other people. You don't
That's
have to
right.
have that.
No, and that's right. And that's so true because if you have peace, love, and joy within yourself, then that's what you have to give. That's what you're
Mhm.
filling your cup up with, and that's what you're going to be pouring out. Tiffany, if there's any piece of advice that you'd give to maybe someone that's struggling with accepting themselves, loving themselves, what would that be?
You might have to fake it till you make it. But the thing is, it's what you put out, is what you're going to get back. So start with one positive thing. I tell people, no matter how hard the situation is, when you hit bottom and everything's gone, find that one positive moment, one point to start with, because it multiplies after that.
Wonderful. Love it.
That's
Love
it.
it. Fake it till you make it, ladies and gentlemen, for sure. I've had to do it too. So, Tiffany, if someone wanted to get in touch with you outside of this podcast, how can they do so?
I've taken a break from social media the last 6 months, kind of. I just was inundated on with getting people like wanting me to represent their products, and some of them were crap. And I'm like, this is no, I'm not going to do that.
Hmm.
So I really had to just withdraw from the world, basically,
Hmm.
and get inside myself to dig deep. And so I am getting ready to have surgery on January 6th. And I think the new year will start with me going back online and talking about the healing journey.
All
Maybe not
right.
everybody, it's not for everybody, but it is for somebody because we're on that same kind of wavelength and it might help them. So if I can help one person, then so I'm going to be getting back on social media, but otherwise I'm here in Lubbock.
All right. Well, hey, Tiffany, thank you so much for showing up for us today, sharing a little bit about yourself and your story, and giving us that personal advice. And for someone out there listening, I hope it helped. All right, everyone, you know who I am. I am Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.